Hey Forkers, it's me Spoon and I'm back, and today I'm going to be doing a art journal page based on one of my prompts that I did for Motivation Monday several weeks ago. I'm including the visual for the prompt here, but there is quite an in-depth description as well, so I'll link to the whole prompt, which is on my Tumblr, in the description down below. I really try to make my prompts open-ended and let them work for any art, because remember, here at ArtTheFork, art is anything you do to express yourself. So you can take what works for you and leave what doesn't. For me, the first step to answering this prompt is going to be to put some texture on my page. And I'm using one of my favorite techniques, which is to crumple up aluminum foil and then flatten it back out and glue it down to the page before putting on gesso. I did have quite a bit of trouble getting the aluminum foil to stick. Normally, I would use something heavier than just regular matte medium. I would use like a heavy gloss gel or some outdoor Mod Podge, because outdoor Mod Podge is quite a bit thicker than the regular, or hot glue. But our art studio is kind of in disarray with me having been sick for so long, and so I just used what I could find and decided to kind of struggle it out with my well-abused tube of matte medium. The whole process of getting the texture on the page and then adding the gesso did take me about an hour, so it's quite a bit sped up here. But the technique really does give you a lot of bang for your buck. It is worth the time. After I get everything stuck down as best as I'm going to get it, I then gesso over the foil. I'm not as worried about getting the page that doesn't have foil primed because my coloring technique doesn't require it. In order to keep that great texture in that foil, I decide to put the gesso on with a cosmetic sponge from the dollar store. You could just as easily thin the gesso out and apply it with a brush, but I felt like I got better coverage and better control doing it this way because I did want the shininess of the foil to go away. Sounds a little counterintuitive now looking back, since I did end up using metallic paints, but at the time I wasn't sure exactly what look I was going for, and I wanted to dull out that shininess. Now I will be using Glazing Medium with acrylic paints. And the reason I use Glazing Medium, which unfortunately I lost the footage of me mixing the colors, and I had moved the colors off screen to keep from knocking them over as I applied them. But the reason I use Glazing Medium, and boy do I love Glazing Medium, is because it gives you time to build color. So yes, you can apply just straight acrylics and wipe them away with a baby wipe, but it tends to wipe up all the color that way. And with using Glazing Medium, it helps your color that you put down stay a little bit transparent so that the layers beneath it will show, and it also gives you more time to play around and get everything layered exactly how you want it. Because, the Glazing Medium basically keeps the paint from drying as quickly, is mostly what that's about. So, I went with colors in the blues and teal family because I was going for a sky or ocean feel, looking at the blues of the prompt. And I start with my lighter colors and then add my darks on top of it, knowing that I'll be able to pull most of the dark color up to allow the light color to come through. If you weren't using Glazing Medium, you would maybe want to go the opposite way, dark to light, since your dark colors are going to kind of block out your lighter colors without that Glazing Medium there. So I'm just randomly putting down pools of color. I'm putting it on pretty thick because I have that glazing medium to help make sure that I can pull it off of the aluminum foil texture so the texture still shines through. But, I have done this in a pinch with just thinned out acrylics or sprays. If you use the spray, it would pool more in the crevices, perhaps, but that might be what you're going for. Now, you might look at this and think, well, you can see where she pounced it down and it's kind of really obvious. But I don't worry about that so much because when I take the baby wipe, I don't just wipe in a straight line. I wipe with circles, which kind of helps get rid of any brush or tool marks in the finish. Okay, so after I get the paint all settled the way I like it, and this time I got it all done in one layer, but sometimes I'll wipe away glazing medium and then have to add another layer. But then I take some cut circles from some DIY marbled paper I made in a previous video, which I can link to also in the description down below. I used 3 different techniques to marble these papers, and that does end up mattering later on. One of the techniques I used was a shaving cream marble, and that sort of impacted my ability to do anything on top of those. So I'm just kind of laying everything out, trying to figure out where I want everything, and then I add in a collage element that I got out of a magazine. Something fun with this is that when I posted the finished product on my Facebook page, a friend of mine thought that I was intentionally referencing a show called The 100, because a character on the show has very similar war paint makeup as the model does here. I don't think that I meant to do that. I've never really even seen the show, but the piece meant something different to her because that's what it evoked for her. So that's one of the reasons why I don't shy away from using people in my collage, because I like the layers it gives to the art. If somebody knows who that person is, it's going to impact what they think the art is. And I kind of like that. I like things that are multi-layered and have different meanings for different people. So I'm just trying very hard to get everything to stick down with the matte medium. This is really thick watercolor cardstock. And again, I wish I had used something thicker or maybe even a hot glue. But I eventually get it stuck down enough for my liking. And what I'm doing now is just using a distress crayon in a purple to put in some color on the edges of the spheres. I then smudge it out with my finger, trying to give it kind of a atmosphere look, like it's got a gassy layer around it. Also, because I pull the color off the sphere onto the page behind it, it kind of makes everything cohesive. This was my first time ever using Tim Holtz Distress Crayons. I like the way they go on, but I find them a little more difficult to smudge dry than, say, a gelato. I can see why that would be beneficial in a lot of applications, because, Distress Crayons, unlike gelatos, won't move until you move them. But I'm not used to them, and I had a lot of trouble getting them to move. Down around the girl, I put in a shadow in a more pinky tone, just to see what it would look like. I then take my heat gun and dry everything, and then just hand letter on my quote, all across the spheres. I was going to put it all together, but that felt too cramped to me, so I went ahead and split it. It says, I live with my feet on the ground and my head in the heavens. Just kind of going with that my planet, sort of my point of view kind of thing. And here is where I struggle a little bit getting the pen to sit on those ones that I had done with shaving cream marbling. Because the pen wanted to pull up the shaving cream remnants. So I had a lot of trouble getting the ink to go down. I think in the future, if I'm working on top of something that I've used shaving cream to marble, I would maybe use like stamps and stays on ink rather than a cheap calligraphy pen like this. But I do end up getting it in a way that I kind of like. And I was considering putting a border on with some glittery purple washi tape, and I may go back and do that. I'm still kind of on the fence about it 2 days later, because I do wish that I could pull that purple in somewhere else in the page. But at the time when I was doing the work, putting a border on seemed a bit busy. So I end up just date stamping it and signing it. I am very leery of my date stamp coming out wonky, so I always test it, no matter what, on a piece of scrap paper, and I just grabbed the nearest ink I had, which ended up being a Distress ink pad in Vintage Photo, but really it doesn't matter. I could have easily used a StazOn or something like that. Once I get the date stamped down, I just sign it and then call it done. I really enjoy signing my pages these days, and that's probably because I've started using my married name. Because we're getting married in, oh goodness, 2 months. 2 more months, and the wedding's coming up, which is another reason why my schedule got all wonky. Because there is so much to do. I'm very much a DIY bride, and it's all kind of sneaking up on me, but I am really committed to getting back on schedule. Editing is taking way more spoons these days than it used to, for some reason, so I'm a little late today. I'm thinking about changing my outro to say we put out new videos every Monday and Thursday-ish, because it is now 9:41 on Tuesday night. Thank you for bearing with me. I do put up prompts every Monday, whether there is a video or not. I have sat down and written prompts. I just sat down and wrote like 100 prompts in one day so that they would always be ready to go. Because I do want ArtTheFork to be something you can count on. So here are just some stills of the piece as a whole, and then that great foil texture. And then I also kind of included this just to show you what the pen looks like on the shaving cream marbling versus other kinds of marble. I hope this inspired you, and I hope you make great art. Thanks for stopping by, and we hope to see you again.